Plot twist. I'm drinking oat milk. I don't know how good this is going to be. So in some ways this is like a review within a review. And now the reason you're not here, to determine how good oat milk really is. It tastes like if you took oatmeal and then liquefied it more than usual, this is what you would get. Alright, so the real reason you're here is most certainly to witness or discuss the majesty of the book Artemis. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This book is average. Period. I think there are some elements that are really cool. If you were into the movie The Martian, which I believe was written by the same guy, Andy Weir, or Weir, not really sure how you pronounce it. Either way, you might be a weirdo if you support Andy Weir. That was not a good joke. But I'm going to stand by it because that's just what's going to happen. Artemis is pretty cool. It's basically about this character named Jazz that lives on the moon in a colony called Artemis. Surprise! Long story short, Apollo is the brother of Artemis, so that makes sense. The main character is a woman, and Artemis is like the Greek goddess affiliated with Apollo and the moon, and also I believe of the hunt. So it kind of makes sense because this main character, Jazz, is entangled in kind of a series of quests, if you will. She's a smuggler on the moon, and the final, kind of grand plot is related to her rise or fall, or lack thereof, in her place in society, and also self-identity. She rekindles some relationships with historical figures in her life, for lack of a better phrase, and I think the ending is kind of a plot twist, but I also felt a little bit uncomfortable with it. And I'll get to that in just a second. But first, good stuff. I would say that if you are really into sci-fi and you like a really slow dialogue-based book wherein the dialogue is incredibly artificial and really cheesy, this book is for you. For example, if you love Quentin Tarantino films, you might enjoy Artemis. They share this in common. Also, another cool thing of Artemis is that it's really easy to imagine a world where humans have in fact colonized the moon. So your ability to add depth to the novel by imagining what's occurring is much bigger than some other sci-fi books. Things I enjoyed less. Artemis is boring. I know that sounds kind of lame and somewhat elitist and extremely unhelpful as a description, but the real problem with Artemis is that you kind of know where it's going, and you don't really care how it happens or whether or not the conclusion actually manifests. So when you get there and, you're kind of surprised, kind of not, sort of let down, it's sort of like the expectations gap problem. You think it might be cool, and then it's less cool than you're hoping it would be. So ultimately, I would say I wasn't super thrilled. And, it took way longer to read than it should have for me, so that kind of speaks for itself. If you read a book in like 2 days, then you're probably going to like it. And if it takes longer than, whatever your normal book reading time, then it was probably average at best. Oat milk. Surprising to me, too. Good Lord. And before I say goodbye, there's one more thing we must do. We must rate Artemis. 1 thumb for, you probably shouldn't buy it, it might be a little painful. 2 thumbs for, it was good, at some point in your life you should probably read it. And 3 thumbs, 3, because sci-fi fantasy, for you should definitely buy it instantly from your local bookstore. In this case, Artemis, unfortunately, only receives 1 thumb. I know this is awkward. It's awkward for me too. And the reason only 1 thumb is bequeathed to Artemis is because it's just an okay book. It'll probably be a summer reading assignment in 10 years. And students then, just like adults now, will think, why? Why am I doing this?